Very good morning, students. Welcome to biology classes. Today we are going to see 11th science biology and we are going to see the further topics of chapter number 9, that is biomolecules. I have already covered so many topics of this chapter. If you wish to check my previous videos of this chapter, then you can check my YouTube channel for it. So today's topic is based on the protein structure, right? So when we are talking about the protein structure, we have already covered about the further like the carbohydrates, as well as we have seen about the biochemistry, right? So today we are going to see about the proteins, right? We have seen about the basics of proteins, we have seen about the structure of amino acids. Today we are going to see about the structure of the proteins. So proteins have 4 levels of protein organization. So in the proteins we will see about 4 levels, right? So the protein structures can be of 4 different types, and these 4 different types are set at some levels, right? So first will be the primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary, right? So first we will see about the primary structure. So the primary structure is the sequence of amino acids where amino acids are joined by peptide bonds. So simple amino acids, they are joined with each other to form a sequence, and they are being joined with the presence of a bond which is known as peptide bond. So with the presence of the peptide bond, when the amino acids are joined with each other, this type of structure which is formed is known as the primary structure. After the primary structure, this primary structure leads to a specialized structure which is known as secondary structure. So in the secondary structure, this is comparatively a higher level of structure, or we can say the protein organization, which includes 2 things. First is the alpha helix structure and second is the beta sheath structure, right? So in this secondary structure, we are going to see 2 different types of protein organization. First is alpha helix, second is beta sheaths. These 2 of them are stabilized by presence of hydrogen bonds between the hydroxyl and the amino group in the polypeptide backbone. So now you know that the structure of amino acid consists of 3 basic and the normal groups. The first is the amino group, second is the carboxyl group, and the third is the hydrogen group, which is common in all the amino acids. But there is presence of a fourth group, which is said to be the side chain group, right? Or we can say the functional group. So based upon this functional group or the side chain, the particular amino acid is differing from the other amino acids, right? So here this 2 of the structures, they are being stabilized, that means they are being forming the structure with the presence of the hydrogen bonds, and thus hydrogen bonds are present between the carboxyl and the amino end in the polypeptide backbone. That is, when one amino acid is binded with the another amino acid, right, this whole chain is being present and it is being bonded with another polypeptide chain with the help of the hydrogen bond. So first we will see about the alpha helix structure, right? So alpha helix is a rigid rod like structure that forms when a polypeptide chain twists into helical conformation, right? So here the name itself depicts the structure, the alpha helix, right? Alpha, we have seen about the alpha carbon, right? Alpha helix means this particular structure is going to form a twist in the polypeptide chain in such a manner that it is going to form a helical structure, right? And when it forms the helical structure, it forms the structure which is known as alpha helix. This type of structure is comparatively very rigid in nature, and it is made up of the polypeptide chain, and this polypeptide chain, when twist itself into a helical structure, alpha helix structure is formed. Second type of structure in the secondary structure is the beta sheets. This beta sheets are formed when 2 or more polypeptide chain segments line up side by side. Each individual segment is known as beta strand. Now see here, 2 polypeptide chains are running side by side, or we can simply say as parallel to each other. And here what happens, when 2 or more than 2 polypeptide chains can also play a very important role in this beta sheet structure. This polypeptide chain segments, they line up side by side to each other, and here each individual segment is said to be the beta strand. So this, just like the pages of your notebook, simple in this way only, the segments are being placed in accordance with each other, and here each page, just like each page of a textbook or a notebook, same way here each individual segment can be said as a beta strand. So when this polypeptide chains are arranged in this manner, this type of structure is formed, and this is known as beta sheets. So this is about the secondary structure of protein. After the secondary structure of protein, it forms the tertiary structure, right? This tertiary structure itself, from the name only, we are going to see that the three-dimensional conformations of a protein is observed, right? So these are 3D conformations that a protein assumes as a result of the interaction among the side chains in their primary structure. So here, whatever the side chains are and like binding with the particular amino acid structure, based upon this there will be the interaction of the different side chains, right? So when the particular amino acid in or a protein is in its primary structure, what happens, the side chains of different amino acids, they interact with each other, and they are being stabilized with the presence of hydrophobic interaction, electrostatic interaction, hydrogen bonds, and the covalent bonds. So four things are responsible for producing the 3D conformations as a tertiary structure with the presence of four different types of uh, stabilizers, right? The first is the hydrophobic interaction. That is, hydro means water, phobic means hating. That is water hating interaction. That means there will be no presence of the water molecules, right? Second will be the electrostatic interactions, where there will be presence or where there will be occurrence of several electrochemical signals, right? Third is the hydrogen bonds, right? That is the presence which is going to bind the side chains, as well as the covalent bonds, which you might have studied in chemistry, that these bonds are said to be the strongest bonds ever, right? So this four different types of interaction or the bonds, they are used as stabilizers for interacting the different side chains of different amino acids, and this takes place in the primary structure of the protein. So for then it further leads to the structure where this type of interaction is observed, and here 3D conformations are observed of a protein. For this reason, this type of structure is known as tertiary structure. The fourth and the last one is the quaternary structure, and in this quaternary structure, some proteins are arranged with respect to each other when one or more than one polypeptide chains or subunits are there, and this type of structure is known as quaternary structure. So here what happens in quaternary structure, see, up till the 3D structures, there was presence of the amino acid and the side chains and everything. But after that, the proteins has formed. So now when one protein is arranged in respect with the other protein, right? So one polypeptide chain is present, and along with this one polypeptide chain, which is forming one protein, another polypeptide chain is also being linked with this particular polypeptide chain. So there will be interaction, or there will be the arrangement will be observed of two different or more than one polypeptide chains, right? Which is going to give rise to two different types of proteins, right? So this type of structure can be said as the quaternary structure of protein. So these are the levels of organizations of the proteins, that is four: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. So here we complete about the proteins, right? Now we are going to start with the third biomolecule, and that is nucleic acids. In the nucleic acids, we are going to see about the DNA, about the RNA, and what is the structure of the DNA as well as RNA, and how they are binded and how they are forming the structure of DNA, right? So first we will see about the DNA. DNA is said to be having polynucleotide chain, and they are double stranded, right? So here polynucleotide, again poly means many, nucleotide means the DNA is made up of nucleotide chains. So many nucleotide chains combine with each other to form the whole DNA chain, and this DNA chain is double stranded. That means two different DNA chain are present, means two strands of DNA are present, and these two of the strands, they coil or they form helix with each other, forming the double stranded DNA, right? And this double stranded DNA, it is made up of, this double stranded DNA is made up of deoxyribose sugar, right? Now see here, it is made up of three things, right? Normally the nucleosides and nucleotides, these two of them are different, right? First we will see about the nitrogenous bases, that which are the nitrogenous bases. So ATGC, right? A stands for adenine, T stands for thymine, G stands for guanine, and C stands for cytosine, right? So these are the four different types of nitrogenous bases which are observed in the DNA. Same way in RNA also, just like DNA, as it is double stranded, right? Here, when we are talking about the RNA is single stranded polymer, right? And here, instead of thymine, right, here uracil will be present. So here also there will be presence of nucleotides, but the difference between them will be, as the DNA was containing ATGC, the RNA is going to contain AUGC, or we can say AGCU, right? That is adenine, guanine, cytosine, and uracil. Amongst them, the A all in the DNA, A always binds with the, that is adenine always binds with the thymine, and guanine always binds with the cytosine, right? Same way in the RNA also, adenine always binds with the uracil, and the guanine always binds with the cytosine. So there will be the binding which is taking place between this nucleotides, and upon binding with this nucleotides, they form the RNAs and the DNAs, right? Now, before going to that, we need to understand that what exactly are nucleotides. So nucleotides are made up of three things, right? First is the nitrogenous base, second is the pentose sugar, and the third is the phosphate group, right? So the nitrogenous base, that is ATGC, along with that there will be presence of a sugar, that is the pentose sugar, and the third is the phosphate group. So when a DNA is formed, right, the DNAs are formed with the help of these three things, and this phosphate group, they act as the backbone of the DNA, right? Now, along with the nucleotides consist of the phosphate group, but the nucleosides are just composed of two things, that is nitrogenous base and the pentose sugar. So when the phosphate group is not present at that time, that is known as nucleosides, but when the phosphate group is added to this structure, it is known as nucleotides. So this is the difference between the nucleotides and the nucleosides, right? Nucleotides contains the phosphate group along with the nitrogenous base as well as the pentose sugar, while the nucleosides does not contain the phosphate group, and it only contains the nitrogenous base and the pentose sugar. Now, these are the nitrogenous bases, and these are the symbols which are used to depict them inside the DNA strand. That is adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine, right? There will be presence of the phosphodiester bonds, and these phosphodiester bonds are covalent bonds which are formed between the nucleotides. So when one nucleotide is binded with the another nucleotide, right, there will be presence of several bonds, and here these bonds are said to be the phosphodiester bonds. Split this word and you will easily understand about such function, right? This phosphodiester bonds, they are nothing but the covalent bonds, and you know that the covalent bonds have a strongest bonding which is seen, right? So this phospho, that is presence of the phosphate, right? Diester, that is di means two, so two ester bonds are present which is responsible for the binding of the two nucleotides, right? So this is about the main structure of the nucleic acids, right? Now we are going to see about the nature of bond linking monomers and polymer, right? So here this much is about the nucleic acids. Now we are going to see about the how different types of bonds are linking the different types of monomers in polymers, right? So how the small or simple units are binded with each other to form a complex unit. So there will be presence of several bonds, right? So which are the bonds which are observed in this biomolecules? Now we are going to see in this topic, right? So in the proteins, there will be presence of the peptide bonds. So the amino acids, they are binding with each other to form the protein that the two amino acids combines with each other with the help of the peptide bonds. Next is the carboxyl group, that is COOH, and this carboxyl group of one amino acid, it reacts with the amino acid of the next and reacts with the amino group, that is the NH2 group, right? So let's take an example. We have two amino acids. Amongst them, these two amino acids, one end will be containing of the carboxyl group, and the second amino acids will be containing the amino group, right? So the carboxyl group of first amino acid and the amino group of the second amino acid, they react with each other, and when they react with each other, they remove the water, and when they remove the water, this process is known as dehydration. That is the removal. D means removal and hydration means the water. So here, as the reaction which is taking place between the two amino acids group, that is the carboxyl group and the amino group, the water molecules are removed, and this process is known as dehydration. Now in polysaccharides, monosaccharides are linked with each other with the presence of a specialized bond which is known as glycosidic bond, right? So in proteins, peptide bond is present. In carbohydrates, glycosidic bond is present. Now this glycosidic bond, these are formed between the two carbon atoms of two adjacent monosaccharides, right? So two monosaccharides, that is a simple unit of carbohydrates, right? There will be presence of the carbon atoms, and two carbon atoms are like in between the two carbon atoms of the two monosaccharides, of the two adjacent monosaccharides, it forms a bond which is known as glycosidic bond. Same way in nucleic acids also, there will be presence of the phosphate moiety which links with the 3' carbon of one sugar of nucleotide to 5' carbon of other sugar. See, in the DNA strand, at one end it is 5' or 5', right? And the second end is said to be the 3' or 3', right? So at 3' carbon, right, there will be presence of one sugar, and at the 5' carbon there will be presence of another sugar, right? So there should be a linkage which should be observed at these two of the ends, and it is going to form a phosphate moiety, right? There will be presence of ester bonds which is present between the hydroxyl group and the phosphate group. So the bond which is present between the hydroxyl group and the phosphate group is the ester bond, and the phosphodiester bond is present between the nucleotides, right? So this can, don't get confused between the ester bond and the phosphodiester bond, right? Ester bond is present between the hydroxyl group, that is OH group, and the phosphate group, right? So at when a DNA strand is there, at one end the hydroxyl group is present, and on the next end phosphate group is present. Now there is some linkage which is observed between the hydroxyl group and the phosphate group, and these two, when joins with each other, they binds it with each other with the help of the ester bond. But the two nucleotides, they bind with each other with the help of the phosphodiester bond, right? And in DNA, two strands of polynucleotides are anti-parallel, right? I said that DNA has two strands while RNA has only one strand. As the DNA contains of two strands, one strand will be of 5' to 3', and the second strand will be the 3' to 5'. That means anti-parallel. That is, they are running parallel to each other and they are opposite in manner. That is, wherever the 5' of one strand is there, on the next strand 3' will be there. So the 5 will not be the same at same end, right? So at one end 5 and 3 will be present, and on the other end also 5 and 3 will be present, right? So see, you can see here, this is the basic structure of the nucleic acid which is observed, right? So this is the two strands, right? Here, this particular, there, see, I have written here this particular, where I'm showing the cursor, this is said to be the minor group, and this region where the more amount of the nucleotides are there, this is said to be the major group, right? The distance between the one helix, right? This is one helix. This one helix is composed of 34 angstrom, and the distance between the two nucleotides is 3.4 angstrom, right? So here, this is the structure, secondary structure of the DNA, right? This I will send you the video of this particular this description of this structure of the DNA so that you can easily understand about it, right? So this is all about the different types of bonds which are useful or which are involved in the binding of the different types of the biomolecules. I hope you are very clear with today's topic, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.